It's that time of year again, sports fans. It's time for the biggest decision of the autumn, a deal breaker that will determine who your friends really are over the next 12 months and how you'll spend your precious gaming moments. Yes, it's time to decide between PES and FIFA. Now, a little bit of a history lesson. I started off with FIFA back in my formative years, banging in goals from the halfway line with Romario in FIFA 96 on my PC as John Motson disapprovingly muttered, "Well, that looks a bit optimistic." Then, for me, came the introduction of the N64, and an introduction into what was then the ISS, International Superstar Soccer Series, and it was peerless on the pitch, leagues ahead of the equivalent FIFA titles, and I didn't care that the players hoofing a tiny sphere around had hilarious names and resembled potatoes with limbs. It was just pure footballing joy. Now, for the longest time I've been a Pro Evolution Soccer fan. Team PES just seemed to understand the beautiful game a little bit better, displaying dynamics and artificial intelligence that knew what I wanted to achieve often before I did. PES for me, I think, has always been about the football itself, and FIFA, I think it's fair to say, has successfully splurged money on everything else. I mean, even now in 2016, FIFA is still a game dominated by speedy players who can race up the wing and zip in a cross or fire off a curling shot after an instep. The physicality of this year's installment has been beefed up, but going back to the introduction of the Impact engine a few years back, FIFA has always delivered something a little more tailored to a robust style of play. It is in many ways the perfect representation of the Premier League, all bright lights and big names, with the physicality of the English League to match. PES, on the other hand, for me has always been the series where you can actually play the tiki-taka style of football espoused by Barcelona and win. In this year's PES, with the controls refined to make that gap between thought and action even narrower than before, that's never been more true. Mind you, it's different strokes for different folks, and it always has been. You see, in recent years I've actually been leaning back more towards FIFA, and it's going to be the latter for me again this year. A younger me, the sort of teenager who enjoyed being part of the underdog subculture that was our local group of PES players, would be horrified by this. A part of me still is. From one perspective, it looks like a rejection of superior gameplay in favour of bells and whistles, an abandonment of footballing purity for the sake of a badge of official authenticity. Is it wrong to care that a game has official licenses, real player names and proper kits? Is it wrong to care more about that than the enjoyment on the pitch? And I mean, the answer actually goes deeper than that. It's important to note that FIFA is no slouch when it comes to the actual gameplay either. It's a little bit more fiddly, and the AI tactics aren't really as diverse as those you'll find in this year's PES, but it doesn't play a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. See, I end up forgiving the foibles because every frame of the action and drama looks virtually identical to the TV coverage that I watch week in and week out, and in a country that's footballing mad, authenticity matters a lot. To be a fan is to want to play as the team that you support, with everything that entails. Now, I want to be able to take Yeovil Town to the Champions League finals. I want to construct my modern day dream team from the best that the actual footballing world has to offer, playing in iconic stadia and delighting in the theatre of it all, and that's what FIFA does. Theatrical authenticity and the ability to forge new stories in the leagues we invest our attention and emotion into year upon year. And speaking of which, the Journey is a perfect fit for this year's game, and I can't wait to get stuck into the adventures of Alex Hunter. It seems like EA finally learned a thing or two from 2K spanking them at NBA all these years. It becomes contentious because it's sort of down to money. I mean, the license holders know their brand worth and so do EA, and that makes it an uneven playing field for someone like Konami. I've often wondered what might happen if both companies had the same raw tools to play with. The licenses that PES has managed to secure in the past, for example, have always been used incredibly well. But the appeal of FIFA goes beyond that too. I mean, it's a brand that's relatively synonymous with stability on one hand. There are always hiccups, but by and large, FIFA has always seemed to get its servers in line a little bit more quickly than its competition, so players can get stuck into championing their teams online as swiftly as possible. And I think that's the point, really. Pro Evolution Soccer understands what it means to play the beautiful game and gives you the tools to do that. But FIFA more often than not understands what you need as a fan and gives you the tools to revel in that world to your heart's delight. It's pure wish fulfillment. Still, those are just my thoughts. How about you guys? Which way will you be going this year? Cheers folks, hit subscribe, tell your friends, back in the very near future. Bye!